When I was a child, my father used to regale my younger brother and me with stories about men whom he'd met at the pub, the Malt Shovel, the evening before. Each was designated by his job. I remember them still. For example, there was Aidan the Bullman, Gordon the Fireman, Jack the Baker. I never met these men, but I felt I knew them. One among them was designated differently from the others. He was Alan the Communist. Alan had been brought up as a child by Barnardos, and the experience had scarred him. He would declare that he would contribute to any charity, but not that one. He refused to vote at general elections because none of the parties were sufficiently left-wing for him. He may also have been the man who used to engage in covert, bare-knuckle prize fights in the pub car park in years of yore, though I may be confusing him with another one. One of the best stories that I heard about Alan was what happened one day as he walked across one of the fairways on Otley Golf Course. "Hey, where are you going?" bellowed one of the golfers in a group of men who were playing in that section of the course. "Over there," shouted back Alan, without breaking his stride. I believe that he may have been following a public footpath, or perhaps he was just cocking a snook at the establishment, which in his mind the golf club represented. Either way, the drama of the confrontation appealed to my boyhood imagination. Evidently, the class war was being fought just a couple of miles from where I lived. I thought of that incident on my Monday walk this week as I came across a gate which had been padlocked when it should have been openable, and barbed wire festooned across a section of the fence which, according to my Ordnance Survey map, there should have been a stile. Clearly the struggle continues. I'll write to Calderdale Borough Council with the relevant map coordinates. Alan, by now long dead I imagine, has taught me the moral importance of standing up for ourselves. No sooner had I begun to think along these lines than I began to apply this theme to the life of the church. We need to stand up for ourselves too, and we need to do so for the good of everybody. People who are unassociated with us want us to stand up for ourselves. That's one of the surprising insights that I've gained from the pandemic. Before March 2020, I was operating in a way that I had received from our Catholic culture. I saw my job as being essentially to look after our own. Anybody could become a Catholic, I reasoned, and therefore I assumed that anybody who had not chosen to become one did not require my ministry. My job, therefore, was to exercise pastoral care to my flock, my diminishing flock, and to seek to coexist peaceably with anybody else. Now we are, as a parish, engaging with local people whom I scarcely knew before through our cooperation in various initiatives. We have a food bank, a food parcel delivery service, a hot meals delivery service, these through Catholic Care, a telephone befriending service, and a children's book distribution service. It's breathed new life into our parish, even while the pandemic continues. And I know that local councillors have been appreciative of the way in which we have come alongside them to support them in their civic duties. Where all this will lead in the future, I do not know, nor am I remotely worried. Another thing that I am learning in this crisis, because of the opportunity it has given to me to pray more, is to live more wholeheartedly in hope, applying myself in the present moment and leaving the future to God. I get the sense, however, that the value of the Church's contribution to society is being more clearly perceived by the movers and shakers in our society. Perhaps this is reflected in the fact that the government did not close churches in the second wave, whereas it had done so in the first. The government realises that we know what we are doing, but we still need to stand up for ourselves. Otherwise, the momentum which the pandemic has afforded us will be lost. The strange, mysterious force of secularisation will re-emerge once all the restrictions are lifted. There will be a push to return to normal, which in our culture will mean, in the lapidary words of the late Cardinal Murphy O'Connor, the exclusion of the Catholic Church from the public square. What will aid us in our mission is that everybody has become newly aware of how vulnerable we all are. That will make people less dismissive of the particular and irreplaceable role of the churches in our society. One of the ways in which that role has been thrown into relief is, of course, by the work of chaplains ministering to the dying in our hospitals, a work in which I too have shared in a small way. One incident stands out in my memory. I administered the last sacraments to an elderly lady from the travelling community in one of the COVID wards in the Bradford Royal Infirmary. She was being supported by her husband and one of her daughters. As I left, one of the nurses remarked that a large group of the lady's extended family had gathered in the square in front of the main entrance to the hospital. So many had come, I discovered, that the police had turned up. I suggested that we say the Rosary, and for a quarter of an hour, this large group of Catholics, all very sensibly socially distanced one from another, commended their dying mother and grandmother to the mercy of God through the saying of the sorrowful mysteries, Our Fathers, Hail Marys, and Glory Bees echoing off the surrounding walls, such that everybody leaving or entering the hospital became enveloped, as it were, in prayer. Far from quitting the public square, I thought, as I returned to my car with lots of money in my pocket for the parish from the travellers, we had occupied it.